Hello and welcome to Friday's Fragrant Quiz. And this week it's all about flower power. So get your pen and paper ready and let's dive right in with our nose first. Which night blooming flower takes hundreds, sometimes thousands of blossoms to produce just a single drop of essential oil? That's question number one. Which night blooming flower takes hundreds, sometimes thousands of blossoms to produce just a single drop of essential oil? Question number two. The clue in question number one was night blooming. Question number two. Unlike most flowers, where are the fragrant compounds found in the vanilla flower? Question number three. True or false? Rose oil can only be extracted from one specific type of rose. Question number four. What unusual method was once used to capture the fleeting scent of orange blossoms? We talked about this in last week's fragrant quiz. Question number five. What fragrant flower was once believed to have aphrodisiac properties, and young women were warned not to inhale its scent at night? Intriguing. How are you doing so far? We're halfway through and we've got a bonus at the end. Question number six. Why are some flowers used in perfumery impossible to extract the essential oil from directly? An extra point if you can name one of these flowers that is very popular in perfumery, but you'll never be the real stuff. Question number seven. What surprising everyday item can sometimes contain a fragrant flower extract? And it's something that my husband loves to eat after dinner in the summer, and it's something that I don't like because it's too cold. Question number eight. Which fragrant flower changes colour as it blooms? This reminds me of my friend Diana when we went to the flea market on Sunday, and she remembered the one that a flowering plant that she bought, and she's obsessed with it, and she talked about this phenomenon actually. So question number eight, which fragrant flower changes colour as it blooms? Question number nine. Many rare and delicate flowers, like orchids found deep in the Amazon rainforest, cannot be traditionally harvested for perfume. So how do perfumers capture the scent of these flowers without harming the plants? Because they are so incredibly rare, they cannot harm the plants by picking them and extracting the fragrance, and because there isn't enough of them, it's impossible to extract, but also because they're so incredibly rare. So that was question number 9. Question number 10. Although not a flower in itself, which fragrant plant is a crucial base note in many classic perfumes? So that's it, 10 questions. And now for the bonus question. Vanilla extract, a popular flavouring, comes from an orchid. But unlike most plants, it requires a very specific and unusual method of pollination. What is this special method and why is it necessary? So that's it, 10 questions and a bonus. Did you do? How do you think you did? Have you got your answers all written down? Rewind if necessary and listen to them again, but here are the answers. Question number 1. Which night blooming flower takes hundreds, sometimes thousands of blossoms to produce just a single drop of essential oil? The answer is jasmine. Jasmine is a delicate white flower that releases its intoxicating fragrance most intensely at night, but also in the morning. Due to the low yield and the labour-intensive harvesting, jasmine essential oil is not an essential oil, it's actually an absolute. But jasmine absolute is one of the most expensive perfume ingredients in the world, and today they still hand pick them in France and in India, and it's just so beautiful. I talked about this last week, actually. I actually talked about it in my Tuesday's Tips and Tales when I was talking about visiting a jasmine farm in Grasse. And the people that pick them, they're often travellers, Romanian gypsies. I don't have a problem using the word gypsies because gypsies call themselves gypsies, but I was once told by an author that you can't use that word anymore. But through generations of over 100 years, these families have been basically employed in jasmine farms to hand pick the flowers, and it's a very organic way of doing it. They have wicker baskets and they just hand pick these beautiful flowers, put them into baskets, and they're immediately the oil is immediately extracted while the flower is still fragrance before the fragrance fades. Question number 2. Unlike most flowers, where are the fragrant compounds found in the vanilla flower? It's not in the flower, it's in the bean. And this is where the scent comes from. Vanilla's fragrance comes from the cured seed pod, also known as the vanilla bean, and the bean goes through a long fermentation process to unlock its signature sweet and creamy aroma. Love, love, love vanilla. And I love using real vanilla in my fragrances as opposed to the synthetics. Vanillin is a very popular one, incredibly cheap, probably 8 to 10 euros a kilo. It's incredibly cheap, whereas vanilla absolute, again, not an essential oil, an absolute, because it's solvent extracted, and it's just beautiful fragrance. And there's no comparison. Question number 3. True or false? Rose oil can only be extracted from one specific type of rose. False. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of rose varieties, but some of these can be used in perfumery. And they offer slightly different fragrant profiles, from the classic damask rose to the Rosa centifolia to the unique Tafe rose. So this gives perfumers a vast palette of rose notes to choose from, although because of EU regulations and IFRA, it's heavily restricted to something like 0.01% of rose oil is allowed to be used in fragrances and leave-on products, because apparently it's an allergen. Apparently there's some problems with one of the contents of natural rose, which is methyl eugenol. And it's such a shame, but people do still use natural rose, and you can have either steam distilled or solvent extracted. Again, the price is different. The absolute is about a third of the price of the essential oil, and you can also get CO2 extract of rose oil as well. I actually smelt some whilst I was in Grasse at the train station with a couple of friends that I just met, and one is a Chinese lady that does CO2 extract in China of rose, and another friend that I'd met there, Robin, and another one called Harry, and Harry sources really rare oils from around the world. So it's incredible what he does, and he's very interesting. I'm going to try and get an interview from him because he's like my new best friend now. Anyway, let's go on to question number 4. What unusual method was once used to capture the fleeting scent of orange blossoms? And it was used with other flowers too, like jasmine, and the answer is animal fat. So before modern extraction techniques, perfumers would layer orange blossoms with animal fat like lard. Ew, gosh, my dad used to fry his chips in lard, and he would eat chips like nearly every day of the week. No wonder he died of a heart attack when he was 71. But that's what they would use. And the fat absorbed the flower's fragrance, so then it could be extracted for use in perfumes. And of course, it's more ethical use today, but Robertet actually use vegetable fat to extract oil from the tuberose flower, and they're still doing that today. It's incredibly labour intensive. Question number 5. Which fragrant flower was once believed to have aphrodisiac properties, and young women were wormed. Ew. It's not a cat. Young women were warned not to inhale its scent at night. And this was tuberose. Tuberose has a long history in perfumery and various cultures. It's nicknamed the carnal flower for its intense and intoxicating aroma. And tuberose was associated with sensuality and even aphrodisiac properties. In some cultures, young women were advised to avoid its fragrance, particularly at night. Why? She might find it too sexy. Go on the rampage. My goodness. But tuberose, don't be fooled by the name, because it's not actually a rose. It's actually related to narcissus. And if you look at the teeny tiny little flowers of tuberose, they're like teeny tiny little narcissus flowers. So and the common daffodil. So who knew? Oh, well, I did, but maybe you didn't. So there you go, another fascinating fact. Question number 6. Why are some flowers used in perfumery impossible to extract essential oil from directly? And this is because the delicate nature of the flower cannot withstand traditional extraction methods. So flowers like muguet, or commonly known as lily of the valley, have such delicate petals that extracting the oil directly would damage them. And perfumers use clever techniques like headspace technology to capture their essence without harming the flower. And often you can get muguet accords. So a lot of oils have been combined to create and replicate the fragrance of lily of the valley. And my new friend Harry actually gave me an accord, because I gave him €1.50 because he didn't have any money left at this perfume bottle expo that I just went to in Grasse. So I gave him €1.50. That was the last of my money as well, to buy a couple of little samples from this lady that he really wanted. And so in return, he gave me a muguet accord, and he's also going to give me a muguet accord without allergens. So that's really interesting and exciting to experience that. So question number 7. What surprising everyday item can sometimes contain a flower extract? And this is, it's too cold. It's ice cream. Natural flavours like rose water or even violet extract are sometimes used in high quality ice creams to add a subtle floral note and enhance the overall flavour profile. Now, when I was in Grasse, I experienced, they're called confit. It's like, or a confiture. It's like a French word for jam. But it's more like a jelly. It's really not like a jam. So it's like a jelly. So it's just, I think, made with gelatine. And then they add rose to it. And they also had a mimosa one and a violet one, which is really incredible. And then I also got orange blossom bread whilst I was there, and she said I must have it with the mimosa confit jelly and goat's cheese. And it's just incredible. And I froze a piece of bread. She said, no, you can't freeze the bread because the texture will be just no, you can't do it. But I froze it anyway, so I'm going to try it and see if it works. And if it does and the texture doesn't change, then I'm going to go back and tell her that she was wrong. Actually, I won't, because she was a bit scary. Anyway, so that's it. And also vanilla is, an incredible extract that is popular in ice creams. I only like ice cream if it's melted and it's a bit warm. Question number 8. Which fragrant flower changes colour as it blooms? It's the hydrangea. And hydrangeas are not only beautiful to look at, but fascinating for their colour changing abilities. The vibrant hues can shift from pink to blue or purple, depending on the acidity of the soil that they're planted in. So it makes them a unique choice for gardens. There's no natural hydrangea oil used in perfumery, so they will use a synthetic or an accord. But the hydrangea, some of them actually do smell, and Some people say that they don't have a fragrance. I think it's incredibly subtle, their fragrance, like a sweet honey-like fragrance. But yes, they're natural. It's not used in perfumery. Like Lily of the Valley. So if you see a perfume, going back to Lily of the Valley, if you see a perfume that says, oh, it's all natural and it's got Lily of the Valley in it, it's not natural, because there's no such thing as Lily of the Valley oil in nature. Question number 9. Many rare and delicate flowers, like orchids found deep in the Amazon rainforest, cannot be traditionally harvested for perfume. So how do perfumers capture the scent of these flowers without harming the plants? The answer is head space technology. And this clever invention allows perfumers to capture the essence of a flower without picking it. A special chamber traps the volatile, fragrant molecules surrounding the flower, creating a profile that then can be created in the lab. And this technique is especially valuable for rare or endangered flowers like the orchids in the Amazon, allowing perfumers to use these unique scents in sustainable ways. Question number 10. Although not a flower in itself, what fragrant plant is a crucial base note in many classic perfumes? And the answer is vetiver. It's an incredible, beautiful fragrance. It's very light. It's used as a base note. Although it's light, it actually doesn't come from a flower. It's a type of very long, thin green grass. But the fragrance doesn't come from the grass either. It's got really long aromatic roots. And that's where the fragrance is extracted from, is from the roots of the vetiver grass. And this essential oil provides a very deep, earthy and very woody base note that helps to ground and balance floral ingredients in many perfumes. It's a wonderful oil, very popular in fragrance. And because it's a woody and it's very light, it's a really cool oil to add to other woods that might be heavier, like oud or perhaps sandalwood. Or amyris oil, which is a cheaper sandalwood from the west of India instead of the east, where the other sandalwood is from, like real sandalwood. Anyway, I digress. Bonus question, final question. Vanilla extract, a popular flavouring, comes from an orchid, but unlike most plants, it requires a specific and unusual method of pollination. What is this method, and why is it necessary? And the answer is hand pollination. And I've seen this with my own eyes from my friend Mahmoud, who has a vanilla plantation and a ylang-ylang farm and distills the oils. He just sells the vanilla beans, the dried vanilla beans. He sells them. He doesn't extract the oil themselves. And I buy my ylang-ylang super extra directly from him in the Comoros Islands, and I see he sent me pictures of them hand pollinating the vanilla, because the vanilla have orchids, and this orchid has a very unique flower structure that prevents them from self-pollinating. However, in their native Mexico, a specific bee, the melipona bee, it's like my nickname. The melipona bee is responsible for natural pollination. However, outside of Mexico, hand pollination is required because this bee isn't present. They could, bring the bee over. No, I don't think that's possible. Otherwise, they would have done it by now. They probably can only live in Mexico. Who knows? I think I'll Google it and let you know next week. This laborious process ensures the production of vanilla beans, which is the source of the delicious vanilla extract. So I've just Googled it on my one, actually, Gemini Google. Have you used that? It's fantastic. Try it. It's actually up to date and gives you up to date information, and you can fact check it as well on Google, because sometimes it does give the wrong answers. Like, last week it gave me a ridiculous question. Anyway, talking about pigeons, if you listen to last week's Friday's Fragrant quiz, you'll hear the stupid question that I had at the end about pigeons being soaked in fat so that they could get the fragrance from delicate oil flowers like jasmine. Anyway, Although these Melipona bees are native to the Americas, some species can thrive in other tropical and subtropical regions outside of Mexico. But of course, they are not in abundance, and that's why the vanilla orchids have to be hand pollinated. So that is it for this week's Friday's Fragrant quiz. How did you do? I hope you got 11 out of 11, or at least 10 out of 10. But if you didn't, no worries. If you have any feedback on the quiz and the structure of the questions, I did go into multiple choice at one point, but it made it too long. This is already nearly 20 minutes. I was aiming for 10. And I was thinking of actually doing the question followed by the answer straight away, rather than reading out the question twice, which makes this a very long episode. So if you've got any feedback on that and you'd like me to change the structure, then I'm always open to constructive criticism. And if you have any subjects that you'd like me to do the quizzes on, I'm also open to that too, as long as it's relative to the subject of perfumery, fragrance, aromatherapy, etc. So that's it. Until next time and next week's Friday's Fragrant quiz, stay fabulous. A biento. Stay curious too.